Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Aaron Trevino here, and we have a terrific guest. We have Cree Childs from beautiful Austin, Texas. How's it going?
Great, man. How are you?
Doing well this beautiful day. I can't complain. So, for those of us who aren't too familiar with you, could you introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Cree Childs. Cree short for Christian. My parents named me Christian. My mom was wanted to name me Christian because she loves the name. My dad wanted to name me Kit. So for the longest time, I went by Kit back in high school, Kit. And as you can imagine, Kit rhymes with everything. So, good and bad. So I changed my name in college to Christian. Then I didn't really like being one of the Christians, and it gets shortened to Chris. So eventually I landed on Cree because it's unique and nobody can really pronounce it. So it's kind of a good conversation starter. I'm the founder of Stay Albatross. So we're an executive and luxury corporate housing company based in Austin. We also serve the Florida markets too. And about 2.5 years ago, I started a digital marketing agency, but now we actually just do full marketing just because I found that having just a digital agency doesn't make you as competitive as if you're able to do complete robust systems. So we primarily work with real estate pros, real estate professionals, folks that are in lending, real estate agents, just working with some investors as well. But we don't take on that many clients. We're a boutique agency. So we like to keep it small because we like to have that personal connection with our clients. And we're focused on generating profit for our clients, not just taking their money. So yeah, those are the two businesses that I run, and I do everything off of a laptop. This is actually an iMac right now, but I'm getting rid of this so I can go back to my laptop lifestyle. And I love minimalism, so I'm like, if I can pack it up in my bag and take it with me to another country, then that's the kind of business I want to run. So
There you go, and that's the future, isn't it?
yeah.
What was that comparison you made? You said digital between digital and robust.
Yeah. So, a lot of people the buzzwords are digital marketing, right? Social media marketing. But the problem is that people focus on vanity metrics. So like you get 1,000 subscribers. Well, that's great. But how many customers do you have? How many members do you have? How many people do you have that are actually paying you, right? It's one thing to have 30,000 people on your email list, and it's another thing to have 3,000 customers.
Yeah.
So like one's actually going to pay your bills. The other one is just an expense. So with digital, the numbers are a lot smaller, but when you start taking people offline to online to offline to online, then you start to develop more of a relationship. And usually you have digital, which is very, very cheap. It's very inexpensive to get eyeballs, but then you want to have people go offline to where you can start forming a relationship. So like sending somebody a gift in the mail is going to do a lot more than just sending them like a PDF report. So we kind of like to mix and marry different marketing strategies and tactics. Like one such example is you can send out an email newsletter or you can send out a printed newsletter. One costs you a little bit more. It's maybe like a 30 cents, a dollar to make it for 400 contacts. But what we want to do is we want to take those 10,000 eyeballs that you get on the internet, filter it down to 400 qualified prospects, and then follow up with those prospects systematically so that eventually they turn into a sale. And if you're selling something that's like, say, $10,000, well, you can afford to mail them for 3 years, like all 400 people for 3 years before you actually have to worry about breaking even. So, that's quick math. I didn't actually run that in my head, but essentially you can mail based off the metrics that you get. And that's why we like to kind of do offline to offline, because it's just more powerful than somebody that's just running ads on Facebook to try and get you a PDF to then get you to get on a phone call for you to buy some sort of digital product. Does
Yeah,
that make sense?
absolutely. No, I'm just curious. You're talking about online to offline, online, offline. What makes kind of transitioning to offline? Like what makes that powerful? What's going on there?
It's the speed of relationship. So like whenever you have somebody's attention on Facebook, you have their attention for a fraction of a second, and you're competing against all the other distractions, right? So the goal of running an ad online is you want to get their attention long enough to put something in front of them that's enticing to get them to take the next step. And oftentimes what we want to do is we want to take them from a place of a lot of clutter and confusion, like Google ads or Facebook ads, where there's a lot of opportunities for them to just jump over to something else. Like, I mean, you go to Facebook and you can see cat memes, you can go to groups, you can go to pages, you get hit with ads, people are trying to sell you weight loss and shakes and just everything. So like whenever you run an ad, the goal is to build trust enough to get them to take a step. And then once you got them to take a step, then you want to send them something, or you want to send them an email, or you want to get them into your website, or you want to get them some more information that helps them make a buying decision. Like for example, with realtors, the goal is to generate a lead and then not just do nothing with it, right? If they're not ready to buy, then they're not ready to buy, right? That's the general philosophy. But what actually happens is if someone takes the time to fill out like a lead gen form or like a mini chat sequence, and we've qualified the prospect enough to have a conversation, the next thing is to just call them and like pick up the phone, call them. Hey, you filled out a form. I was just following up with you. How soon are you looking to buy your house? Right. And then once that happens, then they're completely off of Facebook. So now our follow-up sequence is built and we build multi-steps. So rather than just sending out email, or just one email, we want to send out a sequence of emails mixed with texts, mixed with call drops, like voicemail drops, mixed with even like a personalized letter. You can add them to a long-term nurture sequence of like 12 months or 36 months. And you can actually mail them a postcard every single month with something else new. So like that's the concept of building a system versus just running ads, right? Or just driving traffic. Like these agencies are traffic agencies, but their big selling point is like, I'm going to get you leads. You want qualified leads. You don't want leads, right? You want to have leads that actually have buying intent, that have the money, that have, you know, certain demographic criteria. Like I'm not going to try and sell a mansion to somebody that makes $20,000 a year because it's just not going to work. They don't have the money, and that would just be mean. You know, that'd be cruel to be like, hey, look, you can buy this mansion. And they're like, no, I can't, you know? So like you want to match the product to the prospect. And like somebody that, you know, dual income household, they both make $75,000 a year, combined household income's 150,000. You can match them to a $500,000 house. That's very affordable for them, you know? So like, that's kind of the idea, is that with your marketing systems, you want to build a system and you want to build the whole process from a 50,000 foot view and then dial in to actually build each component. And the same thing is true for real estate investors. It's the same thing is true for real estate agents. It applies across every single industry.
Yeah, absolutely. No, one thing you did an excellent job of describing all that. I'm just curious as well, why do people get caught up and kind of blinded by these vanity metrics that you were talking about?
They're just sold. Like some salesperson is like, I mean, you hear it with Yelp all the time. Like I started out in restaurants, and the sales pitch they tell you is like, you know, if I could get you another, you know, 10 leads a month, what would that be worth to you? Well, I have no idea. You know, most business owners have no idea. They're like, I don't know, because they don't know their metrics. Like, and I come from a background in sales. So what it ultimately comes down to is you have two different funnels. You have a marketing funnel and you have a sales funnel. And the sales funnel is the steps and processes you take a lead through to get them to a sale. And a marketing funnel is the steps and process you take a cold person with a heartbeat to becoming a prospect. So, and then it also kind of tapers into the sales process too, because if someone does not buy on the first call, you may still market to them, but the two overlap. But ultimately, the top of the funnel is marketing. The bottom of the funnel is sales. It's conversion. And so many people are focused on, I want to do it without talking to somebody. Well, the problem is that people want to talk to somebody. So like, I'm not going to go buy a $500,000 piece of property without talking to a human being, right?
Yeah.
So like, that's the thing. And I might've gotten a little bit off topic, but the vanity metrics are programmed into us biologically. If you look at the psychology of why Facebook has a red button, because they know that notification gets your attention. It's super high contrast. It's red on blue and white. So it stands out. It pops out to you. There's a old, I guess, philosophy that you wear a blue suit with a white shirt and a red tie. Why? Because it stands out. It pops. You know, it's also said to be a power color, but ultimately what it is it's our brain sees that button and we want to click it. So it's the same thing as the vanity metrics. Like we want to feel like we're winning a game. So they created it so that it's like a game. Oh, how many followers do you have? Well, you're going to do things to try and interact with people to get followers, right? Well, what you don't need followers, you need prospects. You need potential customers. You need to target people through your messaging, through your keywords, through the content that you're putting out there. Like, I'll give you an example. When I'm trying to find clients for my real estate clients, I want to make sure that if we're going after first time home buyers, that we're not trying to post mansions, because they're not going to qualify for that. Not only that, they're not going to just not qualify for that. They don't even probably want that. They're like, man, how do I get into my first home? Right. So I'm going to want to post everything that's related to, get your first home, become pride of ownership. You know, we've got special loan programs. We've got special incentives. You give me $500 and I can get you approved. Like stuff like that applies to that market. And then also put myself in their position, put myself in their shoes. Like, okay, it's my first time buying a house. I have no idea what the heck I'm doing. How do I make sure that I get approved? Or I've tried to get approved like 10 times and I've gotten rejected every single time. So like it's partially the psychology and partially it's the mechanism, right? How you deliver it. Because if you're going to try and target first time home buyers, you probably don't want to be running an ad in a senior newspaper, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, who are you going to target there, right? Unless they're, here's another good example. It could be a military veteran who has never bought a home and he's 65 years old and he reads the newspaper and he's just like, I don't think I can ever own because my credit's bad. Well, he might be a perfect prospect if that's who you're targeting. But if you're targeting luxury properties in Westlake, he's bad prospect, right? You would not want to advertise in that channel. So it's been explained to me in the past, and this is how I kind of adapted to the marketing mindset, is that there's three, it's kind of like a triangle, right? At the top of the triangle, you have the message. What is it you're saying to who? You have the media and you have the market, which is actually the who, right? So the message is at the top, the media is the channel of which you're broadcasting, and then the who, the market. So if I'm going to try and sell a weight loss supplement to single moms, right? I'm not going to do that, but I'm just giving an example. If I'm going to sell a weight loss supplement to soccer moms, right? Then I want to target a media where they actually hang out. Maybe a Facebook group, maybe a magazine for soccer, right? And if I'm going to say a message to them, I have to actually understand how they think. Otherwise, I'm just like, you need to lose weight. That's totally, incongruent with who they are, right? So maybe it's something more like, would you like to have more energy? Would you love to be able to, have tons of energy and fly effortlessly up the stairs to be able to chase your kids and have fun and take them to their soccer practice, right? Now I'm starting to get into the psychology of who it is I'm talking to. So every single campaign, whether it's supplements to moms or it's selling houses or it's helping someone get approved for home ownership, whatever it is, you have to follow that 3-step rule, that triangle. And understand too, if you're targeting 55-year-olds, you may not want to be on Snapchat, or you may not want to be on TikTok just yet, right? Until it starts to mature as an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. Could you kind of talk about, maturing as an audience, and what that means in that context?
Yeah. So Facebook used to be like really trendy, right? People, I don't know, maybe like 6 years ago, people were like, man, Facebook organic. And then Facebook organic started to go away because you used to be able to make a post and then like your whole audience saw it. And then Facebook's like, wait, we can actually make money off of this. So then they're like, now you got to pay for us to show it to your audience, which is a little ridiculous if you think about it. But you spent time building this audience and now they don't even see your post unless you run ads to it. So that's one example of a product becoming mature. But at the same time, Facebook's actual demographics changed as well. Like people like you and me, millennials, are no longer as excited about Facebook because there's way more ads. There's so much political drama. There's just too many cat memes. Like it's just a place that you go and waste your time. And we're especially purpose driven entrepreneurs. We're like, I don't have time to waste. So like, I don't want to be wasting my time watching cat videos and hip hop videos and, dance videos and stuff like that, where people are just like breakdancing, trying to get views. I would much rather spend my time more wisely. So I still advertise on Facebook, but I don't want to spend my time on Facebook. So where do people go now? Well, you've heard about this thing called Clubhouse, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh man, Clubhouse is so great. It's an audio broadcasting system. It's like you can join groups and you can hop on calls, and one person directs the call and everybody else listens. It's kind of like what we're doing right now without video. It's not like revolutionary. It's not like, man, that's a great new idea. It's like, no, people are bored. They're sitting at home. They're tired of watching cat videos. They want to feel like they're doing something progressive in their life. They don't want to go work out because all the gyms are closed. And they don't really want to go to their apartment gym, and they don't want to work out at home. So what are they going to do with their time? They're bored. So Clubhouse is this like trend, and people are hopping on there. Another good example is like Twitter. People are like, oh, Twitter's garbage. But if you think about Twitter, Twitter is a direct line of connection to almost everybody in the news media. Like in the traditional media, you can access almost anybody on Twitter. You can talk to the president on Twitter. Now that he doesn't have an account, you can't do that, but you could tweet at the president and get his attention. The probability, the statistical chance of getting his attention is low, but you can actually reach the president through Twitter. So, I want to kind of drive home that point is that social media has allowed us to connect to anybody in the world, but at the same time, the demographics are different across channels because of how the platform's been designed. So like TikTok is a much younger audience. So is Snapchat because of the type of content, right? And LinkedIn is a much older demographic because it's more professional, right? Kids that are 17 and 15 and 14 don't need a job. At least not here, not in the US. We don't expect people to have a job by that time. They may work at like a minimum wage job, but we're not expecting them to go out and be a real estate broker or be a doctor or surgeon by that age. We're just like, you're still a kid, enjoy being a kid. So TikTok and Snapchat and, those new platforms, the age of the platform is partially what predicts it. But then you also look at some of the features too, like the shorter time attention span and the just the overall like feel of the platform. I found that the more ads that get on a platform, the less that the younger kids want to do it. The less that they feel like, oh man, this is fun. It's more like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of ads.
Yeah. What is it about those ads that the younger people tend to not like?
They can smell an ad, so you have to make the ad um, entertaining, right? If you make it like uh, educational and I forget what the term is called, it's like edutainment, right? If you make it edutainment, where you're educating them and entertaining them at the same time, and it's like fun and like there's you remember the Old Spice commercials where the guy's like, look at me, look away, look at me, look away. Like that's funny and fun and engaging. But does it sell Old Spice? I have no idea. Like maybe you think about it, but that's branding, right? But the big companies, the larger their budget is, the more they're enticed to want a brand, right? Just stay in the limelight. Now with ads, people don't want to have to digest an ad, right? They don't want to have to go through the ad unless it's very entertaining. Most ads are very boring. They're dry. It's like, hey, I'm a great real estate agent. Come buy for me, or let me sell your next house, or I sold this house. Like what actually hooks people is I sold this house in 10 minutes. What? Learn how. Like that short. But if you're like drawing on like long, like trying to pitch somebody in an ad, like that's wrong. The ad's purpose is to gain attention for a split second, offer something of value, and then get someone to take another step.
Yeah, absolutely. It
Which is
seems
why, yeah, it's why kids don't want to watch ads because they're boring.
Yeah, of course. You want that kind of that educational but yet entertaining aspect, like you said, right?
Yeah, or just be super straight to the point. Like, what are they going to get? Click here to learn more.
Absolutely. It seems like at least, over the past few decades, we've gone through a big, I mean, especially with the advent of social media and technology, we've had a real big change in advertising and how it's done properly.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think the most effective thing is like what we're doing right now. Like for you to build a relationship with somebody, if they're listening to you for an hour, do you think you have a better relationship or a better chance at selling them something than somebody who like got their attention for 16 seconds. So it really comes down to being authentic, genuine. Like people can smell BS. They can smell like if you're trying to sell them, versus like if you're trying to be a solutions engineer and you're like, you want to try and find a way to solve their problems, right? Marketing is not so much about getting a trendy ad or getting like the perfect headline. It's about identifying a market, finding a problem or pain point, and then solving it. And then being able to do so in such a way that you can go and you can find a group of people. That's what a market is. Like a market of rugby players, or like, because I played rugby in college, or like iPhone users, right? How many iPhone users are there in the world? Like, I think it is half the market share globally. So there's like 3 billion people, probably 3 billion devices, and maybe like a billion people, right? Because some people have like 6 iPhones. But there's that much market share. If you create a solution to like, oh man, my phone's too heavy. Okay, well, let's try and solve that problem, right? That's kind of a weird problem to have. Like, your phone's too heavy. Let's make it smaller, right? Well, we can't really change that. But man, I keep breaking my phone. I keep breaking my screen. Cool. We'll put on this like $3 piece of plastic and it'll protect your screen from being broken. Right? That's a problem that you're solving. In college, I studied patents, and I actually went to school for engineering, and I switched to business and engineering. And I'm in my last semester. I was like, I don't want to do college anymore. I want to drop out. And I took a class that made me like stick it out, but it was patent design. And our challenge was find something that you are annoyed with, right? Every day you wake up and it's just the same thing that's bothering you, right? Or find a problem or a challenge that people are having, and then brainstorm a bunch of different solutions. Like, at this stage in the game, don't tell yourself, no, that's not possible. Just brainstorm an idea, right? And then you go out and you're like, okay, now let's weed out all the ideas now that we've brainstormed it. And you narrow it down to a couple different options. And then you're like, okay, what's out there? Is there anything out there on the market that's already in existence? And then if there is, and it solves the problem better than you could have solved it, or it's inexpensive, or it sells really well, just drop the idea. Don't go invest like $10,000 in R&D. Just drop the idea. So like we went through this process, and I came up with 3 different patents that we were going to put through provisional patent filing. And at the time, I had no idea about marketing. I was like, I don't even know how to market this thing. But the idea that I had was like, my professors and everybody I was talking to was like, yeah, that would be a great idea. But the problem with having an idea is that you have to actually test it in the market. You have to sell it. So like in what we do, real estate, it's like, okay, well, what are your customers experiencing on a daily basis that's a problem they have, and how can you solve it? And maybe it's, which industry do you work in again? Private money?
Yeah, private money and brokerage.
So maybe the problem that someone's having is like, I'm a small investor, I want to get started, but I can't get approved for the money loan, right? Maybe there's an opportunity for micro lending. So you can get more investors together and you can pool. And then you're like, well, isn't that what Fundrise does? Yeah. So like there's already a solution in the marketplace. But the question is like, can you take that solution and make it better? Or does it even matter? Like, are they too big? Like, for example, Apple. Like, if I go out and try and make a smartphone, my smartphone's going to suck compared to this, because they've got 12 years on me, 13 years, 15 years, whatever. The point is like, this is a global communication device. I was talking to somebody in Hong Kong this morning who was criticizing me for trying to help them with getting knowledgeable about real estate. It was like, oh, you should do Forex exchange. I'm like, I don't really want to do Forex, by the way, but thank you. But I was talking to somebody in Hong Kong. So it solves the global communication problem. So when it comes to marketing something, you have to look at it from a standpoint of who is the market that you serve? What are their challenges and pain points, and how do you solve it? And if you do that, I think that you'll do very, very well.
Yeah, absolutely. You touched on something interesting as well as talking about pain points, right? Basically, an issue that someone has and how you can hone in on that and offer them a solution. When you do see a pain point, how do you approach that?
Delicately.
Yeah.
There's you don't want to just like Are you talking about from a sales perspective or from marketing, from research, or?
Yeah, just from marketing, research, sales, kind of the whole thing.
So from a research perspective, I would just look for what people are complaining about. So like you can go on. It just really kind of depends. Like it's hard to just say like broad blanketing concepts across every industry, but a big thing right now is e-commerce. So e-commerce sellers can go and research all their competition on Amazon, right? You can see exactly what your competition's doing. You can see all their data, their sales data, and you can literally deconstruct their business just by looking and observing. And then you can see, well, okay, their customers are complaining about these things all the time. Okay, well, maybe there's an opportunity right there. When it comes to any other business, just look at your competitors, right? If you're not the big fish in the pond, like for example, real estate agents. So if you're like a smaller real estate agent or you're not doing the volume that you want, and you see that there's like a top agent in your area, what you can do is you can go read their reviews, see what they're doing well, and then look for some sort of opportunity where they're not doing so well. Or what you can do is you just go talk to them, right? They're doing all these deals. Like they may be like, you've got the balls to talk to me. Like, you want to come work for me? And then they'll teach you everything that they know, you know?
Yeah.
So you can either go to your competition and try and compete with them, or you can go to your competition and buy them, or you can go to your competition and, work with them. Right. And so they're going to have insight into the customer's pain point and problems. And when it comes to a consumer facing thing, right? So you're an agent and you're trying to figure out what your consumers want. Just go to your industry and like listen to what they have to say, and then go to other industries and listen to what they have to say. Because what works really well in real estate, like farming, may work really well in gyms, which I don't, again, at gyms right now, not a great example, but the idea of farming, right? Of there's going to be a certain percentage of people that are going to want to buy from you now, a certain percentage of people that want to buy from you in the next 6 to 18 months. And there's a certain percentage of people that want you to go to hell. Right. And so you just got to basically weed out the third group and then take the first and second group and cultivate those relationships. And so if you take concepts from other industries, like that's one of the vantage points that I had. And I didn't get this idea from my own head. I got it from another marketer. He's like, one of the benefits of being a consultant is that I get to go and see what everybody's doing across a bunch of different industries. And I get to take what works and bring it over to the industry that I'm working with. So like I've worked with restaurants, I've worked with hairstylists, I've worked with cosmetic surgeons, I've worked with dentists, doctors, lawyers, real estate agents, like worked with a bunch of different, like a broad spectrum of businesses. And I get to see what doesn't work and what works. And a lot of the stuff that works in one industry can work directly in another industry. So it's like the best marketing advice is figure out who you serve, try and figure out what their problems are. And you could just ask them, hey, why'd you want to do business with me? Go look at their reviews. Hey, would you mind leaving us a review or a testimonial? Or send them a survey, right? And give them a $5 Starbucks gift card. Hey, if you fill out the survey, then we'll give you a $5 gift card. Right? Not something that's like, oh man, I'm going to fill out the survey and be lie about it. But if you make a lengthy survey, like 30 questions, and you send them a $5 Starbucks gift card, you'll be amazed at what people will do. Like there's this one restaurant that I was working with probably about 2 years ago, right when I first started, and we had a 129 question survey, 129 questions. We were offering a $5 Starbucks gift card, and we had like 130 people submit the survey. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. It's $5, people. It took them like 25 minutes to fill out the survey. And like, yeah, some people were like trying to fly through it, but at the same time, we got a lot of feedback. And I was just like, this is crazy. No, I think it was like $10. And it was for the restaurant. It wasn't even like Starbucks gift card. It was $10 for the restaurant. And all these people filled it out. And so like the point is that if you're in business and you already have a customer base, don't send them like some nasty, like boilerplate survey. Actually take the time to create a well thought out survey that's going to give you insight into, why did they come to you? How old are they? What do they like about you? What do they dislike about you? You can make it anonymous, right? You can make it to where You can make it anonymous. You can also make it non-anonymous, and then that way you can send them a gift card. But you can ask your customers. Just ask. If you're brand new to business, ask your competitors' customers. Just go into Facebook groups. Like, market research is not really hard. It's the ask your family, right? It just depends on who you're marketing to. Like, hey, what do you guys like about real estate agents? What do you dislike about real estate agents? What do you like about title companies? What do you dislike about title companies? What do you like about hard money lenders? What do you dislike about hard money lenders? You probably have to ask a bunch of real estate investors, because my mom doesn't actually know what a hard money lender is. Neither does my dad, you know? So only real estate investors would actually know that term, but there's a market for everything. You just need to know where they are and then ask them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious as well, because when you talk about surveying and polls, the first thing I think of would be something like Instagram, for example. Maybe taking a poll on there. At least if you were to, hypothetically, if you did a poll on Instagram and you asked a question and the answers were yes, no. I mean, what sort of information can you get from that, given that it's just kind of binary? It's a yes or a no.
Well, those aren't really the best kind of survey questions to ask, because, in sales, just like in marketing, you want to get the customer to tell you more about themselves, and you want to elicit that feedback organically. Um, you don't want to try and like take the information. You want to offer them something of value so that they feel like they want to tell you it, and so that you can learn more about them and they can ultimately get a better experience. And there's this big push on like privacy and like, don't share my data, and it's good and bad, right? As an ethical marketer, it's challenging because you can ask those binary questions on Instagram, but do you have an audience, right? So if you're just asking those questions to cold traffic, well, they don't actually even really know who you are, right? They don't know who you are. They also may not even know what you're about. So versus like your following or your audience may have been lingering on your Instagram page for 6 months, and they've been hanging out and they've seen your posts and they've come to some of your events and they've, hopped on a Zoom webinar and they've watched your podcast, and like, they know who you are. Asking them is going to be way more fruitful than asking random people on the internet, because the random people on the internet don't really know who you are, right? So I think it comes down to, you have to make sure that your audience knows who you are. And then to answer your question, as far as like what kind of questions can you ask? I mean, you can ask whatever you want, but are you going to get answers? And, I think the most important things are, you certainly want to know your demographics. You want to know, who's buying from you. Is it male, female? Are they, 20 somethings? Are they 65 years old? But if you've been in business for any length of time, like more than 3 years, you should already have that data, right? And like, for instance, if you're a physical brick and mortar business, you see who comes in the door, right? You can kind of get that feel. You can talk to a cosmetologist and they're going to tell you like, 95% of them is women. And, men don't really come in here to get their nails done. We have like maybe 1 out of 30 every week. Like, you can look at their ledger and you can see, well, this was man, man, girl, 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 girl. Or like with a real estate agent, who do you serve? And they'll say, I serve this primarily. Well, you can also look in your data based on who your audience is. And that's one of the benefits of tracking, is that you get this aggregated data. You don't know Susie from Sally, but you know that, Susie and Sally are watching you, not Jim and Joe. Or Susie and Jim, not Susie, 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 and Jim.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like, not 75% female, 25% male, but you get to kind of know, how old your audience is, and who's engaging with your content. That's one of the nice things about these digital platforms, but it's still not really as deep of a relationship as you can get whenever you just talk to somebody, right? So, does that answer your question? Like, as far as
Yeah.
what can you find out? You can find out anything you want,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm just kind of curious as well because, when someone says the word data, maybe they think of, complication, complexity, a lot of information. And, what I think of is, let's say you ask those good questions, you do those surveys, and you
Mhm.
have all this data. What do you do with it? How can you formulate a plan to do something with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, thinking back to whenever I was helping out that first restaurant that I was working with, the way that we use those surveys, the really lengthy ones, right? The goal is not to get 139 responses. That was just a freak accident. They just have a loyal, super diehard loyal tribe. The goal is to get your true diehard fans or customers that love you to give you feedback, and to get the people that also don't like you to give you feedback, because it's equally as important to get praise as it is to get criticism. If the people that don't like you criticize you and tell you why, you can fix the problems. Like maybe you have a really bad customer service rep and you just didn't know it. And like, I'll give you an example. I went to a pizza place up in North Austin and I was trying to get pizza. I actually called the number. They had sent me a piece of mail that said I can get $2 off a pizza, $2. And I was trying to spend $17 with them. And I got into an argument with the manager because he was like, we don't take those coupons. And I'm like, you guys mailed it to me. He's like, no, we didn't mail any coupons. I'm like, it says your name, like the business name on this coupon. I'm not lying. And he's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, dude, you can't call a customer out like that. Like, and
Yeah.
the problem was that he wasn't a business owner. He was a manager. And then it got into this, like, where he was just basically insulting my integrity. I'm like, why would I lie over $2 off a pizza? Like, it's just, it's ridiculous. And so I called up the owner. I actually tracked down the owner and I was like, hey, listen, I'm really frustrated. I just had this disagreement with one of your managers, and his name is X, and I didn't want to put it out there, but I can't believe how he treated me. And I'm like, if he treated me like this, can you imagine what he did to countless other people whenever they called in trying to use the coupon you mailed out to us? So like, I like to bring awareness to, the business owners of like, hey, listen, if you don't have systems and processes in place to actually elicit that feedback, you're going to have a situation where like people just go on Google and just dump on you. They're going to just trash your reputation online because you have a broken system. And I don't know if it was he never got customer service training, or he's just really, really mad that day, or he's just always like that. And he's just like old crotchety, like 20-year-old guy. Like, why are you that frustrated? Maybe it's because you're working as a pizza manager, but I don't know. But for whatever reason, it's like, you don't want to take that out on your customers because your customers are paying you and they can just go buy pizza from any other shop.
Yeah.
Like, it's a commodity. So for any business owners that are watching, it's like, I always recommend if you're going to jump on the review trend and like try and get reviews on Google, make sure you have a buffer, have a survey, right? Even if it's like a 2-question survey. Hey, how did we do? How was our staff? And you send that to them first. And then you link that to a follow-up sequence of like, if it's good feedback, then you email them. Awesome. Can you leave us a review on Google? If it's bad feedback, you say, can we call you? Can we solve your problem?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I did not mean for that to happen. That's terrible. I'll make sure that my team knows about that in the future. So it's the same thing with whether you're running a real estate brokerage, or you're running a hard money lending institution, or you're running, a sales team and someone's like lying. Like, you need to know that. And people want to be polite. They don't want to be rude, right? Very few people are like, have the gumption to go ahead and try and track down the owner and call him, because, his manager could be like killing his business. Like, he could be losing thousands of dollars every single year just because that one person has an attitude problem. So like, very few people are like me who are going to track you down and tell you that your system's broken. Most people are just gonna be like, whatever, I'm not going to go there anymore. And then you lose them, and you lose all their friends, and they're going to go out on the internet and talk bad about you.
Mm-hmm.
If someone's like, hey, where should I get pizza? I'd be like, well, don't go to this place because this place is terrible and their customer service is awful and the pizza's not even that good. So it's really, and people think that just because they have a small dollar per, like a small ticket value, that it matters less. And I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter whether you're selling pizzas at $15 a piece, or you're selling, $500,000 houses, or $1 million houses, or $10 million houses. It doesn't matter what level you're working at. You have to respect people, and you have to do everything you can. And you also offer different levels of service. Like, you got your Walmart customers, you got your Target customers, you got your Nordstrom customers. Nordstrom expects wine while they're shopping. Walmart expects good products at a cheap price. And Target's like, I want to have good quality products that maybe are name brand, but are also at a pretty decent price. So it's just like, you got to know who you're serving, because if you try and serve wine to Walmart customers, they're going to be like, oh, I don't want that. And it wouldn't make sense for your margins. But if you try and like serve Walmart customer style to Nordstrom customers, they're going to be like, oh, let's get out of here. This is gross.
Yeah, no, that's a great comparison, and it's interesting, kind of the bad experience you had with that pizza place, but you also experienced it not only as a customer, but also from a marketing perspective as well. But you touched on something interesting, where thinking like a manager versus thinking like an owner. Could you elaborate on that distinction?
Yeah, and actually, I was coming from a business owner standpoint, not so much even just a marketer, because I mean, let's face it, there's marketers who are employees, but I've been running my own business now since 2000 and call it 2014. My first business was not very successful, but I learned a lot. I basically paid to run a business, which is not that uncommon for some people. Um, Many people don't even break even in their first 2-3 years, right? So when it comes to like the customer service, I think customer service is paramount. I think it's one of the most important things you can do. And the hard part besides COVID, besides all these other challenges and like businesses being, over leveraged and they have to try and find funding and everything, is they also have to manage people. And managing people and having good training systems in place is like one of the most challenging things. But those people that are on the front lines are your best feedback systems, because they're hearing all the conversations that customers are having. Like, I can't tell you how many times that I go and I work with, my local mechanic or something like that. And they're like, man, I can't believe our company's making us do this. This sucks. I feel really, really sketchy about trying to sell this. I don't want to sell this. I want to help the customer. Right. And it happens everywhere. And it's executives at the top who don't listen to the people that are on the bottom, who are actually interacting with the customers every day. They're not eliciting feedback from their own internal customers. So it's just much more than, a marketing conversation. It's also, it's a systems conversation. It's a processes conversation. It's a cash flow conversation. It ends up becoming more consulting than it is just marketing, And so that's why I can't take on that many clients, because to make sure that all the systems are working, like we have to kind of have a tailored approach with customers, with the business owners.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting how, a lot of the marketing principles remain the same, but yet at the same time, you want to keep your clientele low so you can kind of have that tailor-made approach, like you said.
Yeah, because ultimately it's about, do what you say you're going to do, finish what you start, and don't overpromise and underdeliver, because that's a recipe for losing your customers. And whatever it is, it's like, it's better, in my opinion, it's better to start small and scale iteratively than it is to go out and way over leverage yourself and then collapse, which is what's happening with, like AMC right now. AMC has so much debt. They raised $750 million just so they could survive 2021. That's not even making a profit. They just asked for more debt so they could just live through 2021.
Yeah.
So like, and they're almost 100-year-old company, so they're not really a great example of that. But there's a lot of people that will go out and get so leveraged in real estate, and then when 2008 hit, they just lost everything. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and like that seems to be kind of the trend, is like all the successful people in real estate went through one of those boom bust periods. So I think it's also, to kind of circle back around on that, there's a company called Marcus, and Marcus is the fourth largest movie theater chain, and they own a lot of their buildings. And so they're in a great cash flow position, because they're like, we have very low leases and we have a lot of cash that we're sitting on. So like that's a great opportunity for that competitor to approach AMC. If AMC can't pay their bills, well, hey, we'll take over some of your leases because we've got cash. So like, I think that that's going to be a great opportunity, especially in the real estate realm, because a lot of people are, living on credit cards, and the average American has no money in their bank account, and they have, they've got $30,000 in debt, and they own their house, but they own their house. but it's actually like, they have a $250,000 mortgage and they own 20% of their house.
Yeah.
So like folks like that are going to have to start rethinking their debt and debt to income ratio, especially if they lost their job. And then folks that are on the opposite end of the spectrum that have cash, hey, I can help you. I'll buy your house,
Yep.
or I'll buy your apartment complex, or I'll take over your commercial lease, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you touched on an interesting point, just being able to not only scale, but make sure you're not over leveraged and kind of do it at a reasonable pace.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Cree, is there anything that you haven't said thus far that you'd really just like to hammer home?
Um, no, I mean, I think that we kind of talked about quite a bit on our almost 45 minutes. Um, yeah, I just think that if someone's starting a small business now, definitely look for a problem and solve it, right? Like one of the businesses that we started is helping landlords who are experiencing issues with their renters, right? Helping them to achieve zero vacancy without all those headaches, right? Having to deal with late payments and having to deal with um, to communicate with the renters and having to put up with a bad renter for 12 to 24 months and not being able to kick them out, right? And all the other things that come with having to be a landlord, right? That's the business that we started. Is we just found that we can take care of all those headaches and give our partners or our clients money every single month deposited directly through ACH, make their space, make their space more secure and protected and actually cleaner, and give them mailbox money. So like we have one client that they went to Galveston and they didn't talk to us for 6 months because they knew that we were just taking care of the property. And we're not like a traditional property manager, because most property managers look at the market rent and then they take a percentage out of that and they take like an upfront fee. And I'm like, well, that's stupid. I don't need to do that. I'll just pay you your rent and then I'll make more money than that. And so like it's a unique proposition, but it came from that find a problem and solve it. And I didn't even know whenever I first got my first property that I was solving that problem. The lady had 4 months without rent. I was like, cool, yeah, I'll rent your place.
Yeah.
So we solved the challenge, right? And that's the whole thing, is that to start a business and be successful, you have to solve someone's challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just curious, how did you kind of stumble upon this solution of, instead of, looking at that lump sum and then taking a percentage as your fee, to, saying, hey, I can pay it and then earn more, right?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually found a YouTube channel. It's called Airbnb Automated. And I want to make something clear. We don't run an Airbnb business. Airbnb is a marketplace. So it's a lot like Amazon and eBay, right? What I found was that there's tons and tons of property out there. And there's this generational gap of, we're millennials, the folks that came before us, my parents and your parents and even our parents' parents, are used to, in the real estate space, I'm going to put down 20% on a property, right? On a $250,000 house, I'm going to put down $50,000 and hope to get back $10,000 at the end of the year after all my expenses, right?
Yeah.
That's a really good cash flowing house. Usually you're looking at like $200 to $300, right? In Austin, we're looking at like -$200 to -$300. So like the problem is, the challenge is it's that old school mindset. And the older you get, the more risk tolerant or risk adverse you are. So the less you want to take risk. So someone in their 30s or their 20s is like, well, yeah, cool, I can go ahead and do this, and I can put in the energy and time. And that's what we did whenever we first started, was we put in the sweat equity. And we took on the risk of, hey, I'm going to sign a lease and I'll pay you every month. And then I'm going to do this short-term model, right? So like most people are used to 12 months. Well, we're like, no, let's do it shorter than that. And people are being displaced because of fires, right? They're being displaced because they're building one house and they're stuck and they can't move out of their house that they're selling, and they're trying to move into this build and it's not built yet. And they're coming from New York and California and they're trying to get a lay of the land, and they're trying to figure out, I don't know if you've ever moved across the country, but trying to figure out like the school systems while
Yeah.
being in like 16 states away. Like I've moved to New York, Delaware, Hong Kong, and then back to Texas. and trying to figure out like what a city looks like and feels like and the traffic pattern before you left the state, it's like really challenging. So like those are some of the people that we serve, and medical travelers, especially when someone's coming for like a serious treatment like cancer or something like that. They don't need to be worrying about like, are we going to go out to eat? Are we have to go out to eat every night? Right. That's the problem with the traditional model of like hotels, is that someone goes into a hotel and they have to pay for an overpriced room. Usually it's like a studio, right? A 328 square foot place. And the hotels are finally starting to come around to, oh, we should probably offer them a kitchenette set, right? But you're still paying $70, $80, $130 a night for this little tiny box with no kitchen, no laundry. You have to pay for laundry service. You have to pay for dining out every night. And so when you come to Austin and you're coming from New York and you're trying to drive your whole family down and you got this whole storage unit, right? Or maybe you're paying to ship it down. Well, people would much prefer to just rent an entire house that's furnished with all the furniture in there and the utilities are hooked up. And, that's the convenience of a hotel. Only you can put your whole family in there. So you can come down with mom and the kids, and you can temporarily locate down here for 4 or 5 months. Our typical renter stays with us for about 72 days. So they're staying with us for 72 days, but we also had another client that just extended from a month to 6 months. So like they're looking for that done for you system that's like ready to go. That's who we serve. And like I said, I just totally stumbled upon it because I saw a channel and I was like, let me try it. And I talked to the homeowner. I was just driving around and I called signs and she was like, sure, when can you come by? Because she was desperate. She had 4 months without rent. So she was like, I don't want to keep losing money on this place, right? And just refinanced the property and took out, $50,000 to fix the house. And like, she was like, I got to make this work. Otherwise I got to sell it. So solving a lot of problems, right? Solving her problem of cash flow, solving our problem of not having a huge down payment to just dump into a property. And we're also solving the problem of the person that's relocating. So it's a win-win scenario. And that's why I like real estate, because I like solving problems. That's that engineer mindset. It's like, how can I solve a problem? And then the bigger the problem is, the more money you get paid. Right. So, it's nice because you can solve bigger and bigger problems and get paid better and also feel good about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of the big trifecta there. You're solving the landlord's issue. You're helping yourself while also providing a great service for the person who wants to come in and stay there.
Yeah. And I'm actually going to address some of the concerns as well about short-term rentals. Is like people are concerned about, I don't want people coming in and partying, right? Well, we don't either, because we pay like $10,000 to $12,000 for furnishings. I don't want someone coming in and like tearing up the house, because I'm on the hook for the house. I don't want someone coming in and like lighting a cigarette and burning a hole in the couch. Like, I'm with you on that. I just paid a lot of money for that couch. So we have all these systems in place to prevent that and mitigate that. And one of the best systems, and I'm just going to give you a little nugget here, is if you're a homeowner or landlord, or you own an apartment complex or whatever, you've got vacant units and you want to try this, in your rules on whatever platform it is, make sure that you put locals must contact us first. Because what we found is that people that want to party are local. You're not coming from Sweden to party in Austin, Texas, right? You're not, well, let me rephrase that. It's more likely that you're not coming from Sweden to party in Austin, Texas. You're coming as an exchange student, or you're coming from Pennsylvania down to Austin to visit your kids who are going to college, or you're coming from, Oklahoma to Austin to get medical treatment, right? Or moving your family, right? That's the more likely scenario. The person that's going to tear up your place lives down the street and wants to party in your house for one night, which is why we have a 3-night minimum. And especially if someone wants to come on the weekends, guess what? Our prices are higher on the weekends, because we want to, again, mitigate that. So we have a whole bunch of systems and checklists, and we put full security systems on site. We've got sensors that allow us to know if there's smoke in the house, if there's carbon monoxide in the house, and it's 24/7 monitoring, right? And then we also have a full professional team that cleans. So like the place is going to look better than your regular renters. That's the big thing, is like your renters don't take care of your house, right? If you think that they do, you probably haven't been a landlord for very long, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but I rent my apartment, and there's things that just don't go like they go a little length of time before we start to fix them. So, and the thing is that renters want to save money. Owners want to make money. So if a property is damaged or dinged or something like that, we want to fix it as quickly as possible. That's why having the staff that comes in and checks the property and cleans it, make sure that all the stuff's still there, it's not burned and it's not damaged or whatever. Their job is to make sure that that is impeccable conditions so that the next person that comes in gets the same experience. So that's going to probably keep your property in better condition than the person that rents from you for 12, 24 months and accidentally bumped into the wall with the thing that they moved in and kind of just patched it up and you don't find out about it, right?
Yep.
Or they sat on the toilet seat and broke it and then they just stuck it back together with some super glue. So you're going to find out about that 12 months later, whereas we find out about it a week later.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a great model all the way around, just kind of, assessing everything and mitigating that risk. And at the end of the day, not only doing what's good for you, but, offering a great service.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I'm done with the whole pitch thing. It's just like I just get so frustrated whenever people that they hear something on CNN, right? And I think with Airbnb's IPO, like more people are going to start using like I run an Airbnb business.
Uh-huh.
You run a short-term rental business, like you can market your business on Craigslist. And there's some landlords out there that do this, right? You get your customers from Craigslist, but that doesn't change the fact that you still screen them. You still have to make sure that they meet your credit criteria, that they have the right income, that they're not, on the sex offenders list, and that they're not, they haven't hurt somebody or whatever, they haven't done some jail time, right? Not saying that you can't still rent to people, but if you have a neighborhood full of, brand new families, you probably don't want someone that was a sex offender there. But at the same time, like, to each their own. I'm not saying that you can't do that, but the point is that we're very familiar with those processes to screen people. How you get your customer, though, does not matter. You can run a Google ad and get your customer. You can put flyers at local coffee shops and get customers. But what you do with the customer, how you screen them, how you qualify the customer, and how you take care of the customer is what you have to like think about whenever you're setting up a business. So like for anybody out there that's thinking like, well, why don't I just do this myself? Go ahead. I mean, if you want to spend, 6 months to a year learning how to run the business correctly, like by all means. You want to make a whole bunch of mistakes and lose a lot of money, by all means, right? Like you can do that. But there's certain things. It's like more saturation in the marketplace means that it's going to be harder to distinguish your business, to distinguish your property. So, I mean, I encourage people to learn more about the short-term rental business, to learn more about vacation rentals, to learn more about the whole industry, because the more people that are knowledgeable on how the whole system works, the less the politicians are scared of it, and the less that they're getting pressured that they have to, ban it versus just tax it. Just tax the industry. We'll pay the taxes. Like people want this.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great kind of making that distinction and, kind of being able to do what's best.
Yeah, it's just do what's best by the people that you serve, right? And my clients are the landlords and the homeowners, the customers that come stay with us, right? I literally had a lady who her husband lost his job and they were on their last bit of savings. And I'm not saying that this is a good financial decision, but she messaged me and asked us if we could do the first time discount on Airbnb, which is 20% for them because they were trying to take a family vacation before they went back home and tried to figure out their finances. And I felt really good being able to offer them that. I mean, obviously we just set up the property, so like we could still offer that at that point. But I felt really good knowing that I was helping her and her family come together and spend some time. It's in Pensacola, Florida, and spend some time there and be able to recharge because like family time is really important for me and for a lot of people, but I'm not sure about everybody. But being able to offer that and offer it in a way that it's unique and it creates those memories because we can always make more money. But you can't get back time with your kids. You can't get back your youth. You can't get back your health when you're in your youth, right? You can be 55 years old and start getting healthy, but you can't go back to when you're 30 and be healthy again. So like, it's a lot about building a lifestyle and a system that creates a business that helps and serves people while also serves us. Because I can literally take this business and do it in any state in the country with some degree of like variability, because some states have actually tried to ban it, right? It just changes the model slightly. Like in New York, you can't do less than 30 days. It has to be owner occupied, right? Versus in Florida, where they don't have that rule. And over in Arizona, where it's just completely open, it's free range. California, it's like some cities are trying to ban it completely. But it's just, how does that serve people, right? It doesn't serve the landlord to have 80% occupancy, right? If we can come in and take over a full floor and give them 100% occupancy for that whole floor, that's peace of mind. They don't have to worry, right? So that's how I view it. That's how I kind of view the business that we started by accident. Was, I view it as like serving people, and along the way we're going to make money, but that's not the whole point, if that makes sense.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. It is interesting how you were able to offer that service, offer that solution, and basically give that family not only the quality time with each other, but also that opportunity to kind of recharge and say, hey, what's our next move going to be?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you'd like to really hit home?
No, man, those are the two things that, like I said, I'm focused more on the real estate side of things, not so much focused on the marketing agency. I'm actually just trying to get out of that so I can just do it for myself and for my partners, so that
Yeah.
I'm spending less time doing it for other people. Just because, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's just, it makes more sense to take all those skills and systems and put them into our business,
Absolutely, Cree. That makes perfect sense. Where can we find you for those of us who want to get in touch with you? Maybe talk some real estate, talk some marketing, talk whatever. Where can we find you?
Yeah, I mean, you can find me online just like you found me, through Facebook, through Twitter, through LinkedIn, Instagram, Pinterest. Oh, not on Pinterest. It's at Cree, CRI .childs. That's creechilds.com, or at creechilds. I don't have the .com yet. I have to actually get that.
Yeah.
And then also, if you have any questions about marketing, you can also check out intelligencemarketing.com. That's GENTS, intelligence, like smart guys, right? And we're gonna probably be shifting that over towards just like a Cree Child's website. And then the short-term rental stuff is on stayalbatross.com. So if there's any landlords, property owners that have vacancy, that want to get zero vacancy, or that just don't want to deal with tenants anymore, we not just help them with optimizing their stuff, but we also do buy properties as well. So we can certainly help them out with that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Great to hear. Cree, I've really enjoyed our time. That has been a heck of a podcast. I've learned not only a lot about you, but also, marketing, automation, a bit about real estate, short-term rentals, and it's been a real pleasure, man. Thank you so much.
Likewise, Aaron, it's great coming on the podcast, and I appreciate you.
Okay. Talk to you soon. Have a good one.
You too, man.